Dzień dobry Państwu.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome on the second day of our infraBIM 2020, for which we have planned 3 special sessions titled BIM HYDE PARK and 3 workshops. Before we tell you a few words about what will be happening today, I wanted to very warmly welcome those of you who are watching us, being either in isolation or in quarantine, because I know that there are people like this, because a colleague of mine told me yesterday that he is on quarantine and is watching us. BIM HYDE PARK is an initiative for the first time organized by the Public Procurement Office in May 29, and discussions were very interesting there. Therefore, we decided to continue on BIM HYDE PARK, and together with the Public Procurement Office, we developed the theme range of HYDE PARK, and we joined to infraBIM. We divided the event into parts. We will have a series of prelections about BIM strategy in Visegrad Group countries, whereas 2 next sessions will be 2 discussion panels for which many of you, I'm sure, have been waiting long. In the first panel, we will talk about standardization. We invited to the discussion, first of all, central institutions. We invited public ordering parties. First of all, those who have experience in implementing BIM and who can tell us a little bit about whether this standardization is really necessary or not. And we also invited representatives of general contractors, because actually they are those who are implementing BIM ideas, which the ordering parties will describe in their tender documents. But the second panel will be on competences, because the competences of BIM personnel are of key importance for effective implementation of BIM, for effective realization of BIM. And for this, to this panel, we invited the academia and of professional organizations, as well as investors who are experienced in implementing BIM projects, and BIM experts who work both the stage of implementation, construction of the investment project, and later in management of those units. Dariusz will moderate the first panel, and as I am closer to academia, I will moderate the second panel. Before we start, I wanted to ask Hubert Nowak, President of Public Procurement Office.
Drugim dniu tego wyjątkowego wydarzenia. Bardzo się cieszymy, że możemy podzielić się naszymi doświadczeniami, które zdobyliśmy 1,5 roku temu, prowadząc po raz pierwszy HYDE Park BIM-owy.
For the first time, BIM HYDE Park, we didn't know whether it would be an event of interest. We didn't know either whether it would be an event which would fulfill the assumed points. We counted upon this being a place of opinions of enthusiasts clashing with moderate enthusiasts and skeptical people. And we also hope this will be a place which will be attended by people who are indifferent to BIM, because we know that there is a large group of enthusiasts, a large group of skeptical people, but still bigger, a group of people indifferent to this philosophy and this model of project management. We also believe that each sub-sector has its own challenges and its own experiences. We believe that this place where we will be now, and this adventure we will go to, especially in 2 last modules, is a place where we can share these challenges, and we can look at them from the perspective, on the one hand, of realization side, on the other side from investors' perspective, but also from human perspective, because nothing will happen in BIM without the human being. Nothing in BIM will happen without professionalization, without understanding this methodology, and without possibility next of the vision for implementing it. Therefore, I'm very glad and I'm awaiting these discussions and sharing knowledge and experience, which will happen soon. Ladies and gentlemen, let us start. Thank you very much, Mr. President. I remembered two words most, man and adventure. This is an explosive mix. It will be good. Well, today's first speech is titled BIM and Public Orders. Ms. Pożarowska will present it.
To be here today and to start our session. I'm representing a Public Procurement Office of Poland, and in my presentation I would like to look at BIM from the angle of public procurement in three steps. First, to look at EU provision on BIM in EU legislation. Secondly, to see our national reference to BIM, and at last to review some most important ongoing BIM procurement issues in Poland. Starting with European law, first reference to BIM in procurement directives we had in 2014. And the provision said that for public works contract and design contest, member states may require the use of BIM or similar tools. This provision basically states that member states, if they wish, they may nationally introduce the obligation to require BIM. However, there is no universal European obligation to do so. Based on directives, Polish public procurement law also refers to BIM tools. And first reference we had in 2016, together with the implementation of directives. And second, we have now, together with a new law of 2019, which will be in force starting with 2021. New public procurement law says that the awarding entities may require the preparation and presentation of tenders or contest works with the application of BIM. What is important, perhaps, that the fact that law points to the possibility of requiring BIM tools at the bidding stage. However, this indication, the indication of sub-bidding stage, does not limit contracting authorities in requiring BIM at other stages of procurement procedures. If I had to summarize the law in respect of BIM, the new law, public procurement law, does not introduce a general obligation to use BIM for certain types of contract in Poland. Individual contracting authorities, depending on their needs, may require to use BIM tools in contracts for construction or design context. But what is important also, it is to stress that even with no BIM references in law, BIM projects were possible in the past. And this is example of this kind of project. The result of design contest have been announced in 2010. The investment began in 2013. This is Jordanki Music Hall in Toruń. And BIM was used here to design and build a ceiling composed of several very heavy and movable concrete blocks. And this construction gives you acoustic effects. And all this has happened much before we have any references to BIM topic in public procurement on European or our national level. Another issue coming from the European national legislation is that the provision will state that if the use of BIM tools is required and such tools are not generally available, then contracting authorities must offer access to such tools until they become available. Basically, this provision is to serve to maintain fair competition while awarding BIM contracts. Such tools basically should be non-discriminatory, interoperable with ICT products, and also should not limit the access of contractors to public procurement. And with this topic, we move to the broader issue of measuring general availability. This is the topic which started to be alive in this area of interaction between BIM and public procurement. And in this context, I think it's very important to stress one issue, that how do we measure general availability of BIM tools? And I think it's very, very important to see that we have to measure this availability, taking into account all contractors who are entitled to apply for contracts in Poland. And as you know, it's not only Polish contractors allowed to apply for Polish procurement contracts, except Polish contractors are also EU contractors, because we have a single market within the framework of which we open procurement markets to each other. Also, we have GPA contractors. GPA is a government procurement agreement, and parties to this agreement also open to each other procurement markets. And we have also to open our market to third country contractors who are from the countries with which we are bounded by other international treaties which contain provision on mutual access to public procurement. So I think it's very, very important to have in mind that when we are talking about general availability, we are talking about quite broader scope than just Polish contractors. Currently, we have in Poland ongoing public projects, and also some of them are pilot projects. And when we look to that, we see that first of all, BIM is applied in the investment and construction works of buildings, of governmental and local administration, in area of science, culture, museums, sport and tourism, in public hospital, public education, but also more and more often we go into the direction of Polish utilities, such as road and highways, railways, seaports, airports, energy networks, and water. This is just to give some examples of ongoing projects. Here we have a zero-emission building on Poznań University of Technology. Also, that ring road is the example also pointed out yesterday several times. Solidarity Transport Hub, it's a new investment where the BIM is supposed to be used as the airport component as well as a railway component. Copernicus Science Center in Warsaw, investments of Polish power grids, skiing and biathlon center in Jakuszyce, or music center in Krakow. Just several examples to give you a flavor of where are we. We have quite a broad number of stakeholders currently active in the area of the interaction between BIM and procurement. That's the BIM applying contracting authorities, also BIM designers, architects, and construction contractors who for now are able to use BIM tools. Broad scope of BIM related associations active in Poland. For the time being, academia is able also to provide trainings on BIM in form of specialization at regular studies, but also as a postgraduate studies. We have several public institutions involved in the BIM topic. First of all, Ministry of National Development, which is responsible for the construction sector, Ministry of Infrastructure, Public Procurement Office, and several other specialized offices. I will not point here all of them. We have also very important, I think, initiative ongoing. The first one is BIM Standard per L, which is going much from the bottom. And I think this is first serious attempt also of broader standardization with the participation of many different important stakeholders. We have also initiative going from the up, from the Ministry of National Development, which is the forthcoming Polish roadmap to BIM and BIM working group, together with the pilot project in social housing. We have also in Poland Building Smart Poland, which is a Polish chapter to Building Smart International, which is promoting open BIM standards, but also many BIM-related initiatives at sectoral chambers and associations. And two last slides I would like to dedicate to challenges and next steps, which I think are important in this context and also very on time. I think first challenge on the side of public administration is the competency of contracting authorities. I think we need this competency on several levels, and first of then this is the ability to require BIM, but also the ability to work with BIM throughout the entire investment process, as well as to manage with BIM over the entire life cycle of the building. In practice, this means that we have to train a number of employees of many local and central institutions, but also to provide a number of staff and entities with appropriate workplaces and IT tools to work with BIM models. The next challenge, I think quite serious, is the open procedure. This is the most popular procedure to perform procurement contracts in Poland, popular in general, but also in the construction sector. And we have to honestly say that this is not BIM-friendly procedure. I think we need here a big move from the open procedure to other alternatives, which gives much more space for discussion, for negotiation, for agreements and agreeing process between contractor and contracting authorities. This space we have in other procurement procedure, such as a negotiation with publication or a competitive dialogue. I think also it's important to proceed every procedure with serious market consultation. All these tools give us a space to discuss and agree what is necessary in case of BIM project, and for sure open procedure will not provide us with this space for negotiation. We are currently also in the process of digitalization of the construction sector in Poland, and public procurement law strongly rely on the construction law. And in this sense, we have to root there, and that's the ongoing process, which should also contribute to BIM application public procurement. And the last but not least is also contextualization. Yesterday I heard that the best thing we can do is just to take best solution from other countries and do them in Poland. I would consider, I think, a bit different approach. I think we need to bring BIM international standard, foreign practices and other foreign inspiration to national context and just root them into our tradition solutions and our legal practice. That's all. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much for a good introduction to the whole HYDE Park of today, because part of these challenges, Ms. Justyna Pożarowska mentioned, will be topic to today's panels, discussion panels number 2 and 3. Now, our next guest, is representative of Slovakia, Mr. Michal Pashar from BIMAS Association. Title of his speech is Current Report of BIMing in Implementation in Slovakia. The floor is yours, sir. We'll wait still a moment for getting connected. Our guests Well, waiting for switching over, our guests from Slovakia, Czech Republic, and from Hungary joined us thanks to the initiative of Public Procurement Office. Together, we were looking for organizations, state institutions which are most advanced and most involved in implementation of BIM in countries of similar stage as we are, similar culture, similar experience, and therefore are today's guests from Slovakia, Hungary, and Czech Republic. Well, I have very good relations with Visegrad Group countries, thanks to academic contacts, especially in Budapest, where I happen to be practically once a year at least, and lots of friends. So it's a great pleasure that we also host our colleagues from Slovakia, Czech Republic, or Hungary, just behind one southern border.
And we can hear you. You can share.
We can hear you. Okay, so I
Start the presentation.
You can start.
okay, I can start. What? Okay, so again, good morning to everybody, and I will try to, or I want to share some information about the status of actual BIM implementation in Slovakia. My name is Michal Pasiar, and I'm the president of BIM Association Slovakia, and also I'm CEO of Acrea Architectural Studio, where we use this BIM platform, or we offer our services based on BIM since 2011. BIM Association of Slovakia was established in 2013, and I can say that from the time till now, our organization is only professional organization dealing with BIM in Slovak Republic. We have activities, of course, to our members, and of course activities to help to implement this topic in a public sector. Now we have some communication with Ministry and Ministry of Transport and Development. There is a working group based this year, and we are trying to open the question how to implement it and move it on. But I have to say that the process of implementation in public sector and communication with our government is going so slowly, in my point of view. But as you see, we have our members are the biggest players, or I would say the greatest players in the field of construction industry in Slovakia, and we have now more than 40 members as members in our association. Our work is, of course, based on international connections, and we are members of some international organizations, as for example, European Council of Engineers and Chambers. Of course, we are proud to be member of EU BIM Task Group in Brussels, where we have membership. But again, I have to say that our membership is supported by government only on a formal way. So we are mostly, our association is organization of volunteers. That's the statement in the Slovak Republic. Internal work, or our goals are of course to increase this topic and have us some solution based on working groups. Our internal working groups in our association consist of our members, of course, and we are moving this topic forward. Year by year, we organize some evenings, some events events more and less formal for our members. Of course, this year is special because of coronavirus and pandemic situation. And our greatest and biggest event is BIM National Conference. This year it will be tomorrow. And this year it will be 6th BIM National Conference. Of course, we try to push this issue to students and new generation. And for example, BIM Challenge is the event for students. It's a competition of BIM skills for the students. And as I know, this is the only competition, student competition in BIM, as I know, in Europe. So we are proud about it. BIM for Free, this is the event also for students where we invite professionals and experts from market and from practice, and they sharing the experiences with students during this event. So it's very popular among the students. Now I try to share you statistic data about BIM and situation about BIM in Slovakia. Every year we make a research and we ask approximately 2,000 respondents with our questionnaire, where we are trying to know how the situation is in implementation BIM in our professional society. This is the first slide shows us where the responders are from. I mean the regions of Slovakia. As you see, the biggest number is from Bratislava region. This is the dividing into two groups. Our responders are from infrastructure sector and building sector. And as you see, the building sector is about 65%. The infrastructure sector is about only 35%. But I think this is a question of time when it will be half and half, or maybe the BIM is in some kind of, or I can say that BIM is the value of BIM is maybe we can say great or is better for infrastructure sector, so we have to wait now. Current use of BIM, this is the question to our respondents, where you see that the half respondent are not using or not interested about BIM. So this is the statement now, and but I see from my practice, for example, that the situation is better and better from each year. Now you see the overall comparison of implementation through the last 3 years. This is the comparison of the sector, so buildings and infrastructure, where the blue color is already using BIM, this orange color is interested but not using yet, and not interesting is about, as you see, in building sector is 46%, and infrastructure is about 60% already. This is a comparison in building sectors through the last 3 years. As you see, the progress is not we cannot see the progress now in big numbers, but this is the reason why is it. I see the reason in situation when there's no big and strong demand in our market from investors and clients, because from my point of view, the reality is that many investors, they understand BIM as a cost or extra cost, and they don't understand it as an investment. And most of investors, they understand BIM as a tool for architects or engineers. But I think that is a mistake, of course. So, cooperation among the professions, as you see, the biggest problem now in our practice is to find MEP engineers and HVAC engineers who have skills, for BIM. So that's the biggest problem in our practice, but I think it's very similar among the Europe. And if you see the implementation of BIM as a comparison of use of life cycles, so as we see, the BIM is using in development and design mostly. Construction, there is a whole. And of course, facility manager, we have in Slovakia, we have some pilots already, but nothing huge. This was a question to our respondents about how they are feeling about their skills in BIM. So as you see, the 14% of respondents they got themselves as experts, and the others see maybe 60% they see advanced, and beginner about 20-25%. And this is the problem what I mentioned before. They do BIM or implement BIM by their own initiative mostly. So as you see, 67% they have motivation to use BIM and implement BIM in their companies and practice by own initiatives, which is of course sad. And I think this is the also question of time when the investor they change their minds and and they will see the BIM platform as their investment and the advantage, and of course their tool, because BIM is mostly tool from client. This was the demand for BIM delivery. So you see the percentage. 73% were never asked for BIM. Barriers, by opinion of our respondents, price, a lack of professionals, and these things. So this is the meaning, or this is the opinion by our respondents, our practice now. And future expectations. So this is the picture, or based on this information, this percentage, you can create a picture of our implementation of BIM as a topic in Slovakia. So 17% of our practice, I mean the architects, engineers, construction companies, FM, and so on, already using BIM. It's not huge, but we can say we are still in beginning. But I think is according to this problem, as I mentioned. So we can divide it to if we were talking about private sector, is the understanding of value of BIM, and when we are talking about public sector. This is the interest of our government, and understand this issue as a future of construction industry as well. So thank you very much. This was a short presentation about the statement of BIM in Slovakia, and I am prepared for our question or your question. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for presenting the current state of BIM implementation in Slovakia. I'd like to apologize for Polish pronunciation of your family name, but with the next Hungarian name probably will be even more difficult. All right. Darek?
Teraz wystąpi pan Jarosław.
And now we are going to have Jarosław Nechyba, Director of Standardization Czech Agency for Standardization.
Thank you very much. Do you hear me well, and do you see my presentation, please?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it's okay.
Mm-hmm. So good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm really honored to be invited to take a part in your event, and I'm representing the Czech Standardization Agency, which is the expert organization under the Ministry of Industry and Trade. And we are finding ourselves as the expert organization which is involved in the national governmental payment strategy, and we are authorized by the ministry to fulfill and deliver some standards and methodology for the governmental resolutions. I'm as well a member of the steering committee of the European Task Group, which is quite a professional organization having inside lots of experts across Europe, so lots of knowledge and sharing experiences through that organization is going to our national strategy as well. So my presentation is really, let's say, the helicopter view on our, let's say, 4 years activities, and to fit it in 15 minutes, it's quite a challenge. So I will just go through the slides and try to show you the fundamentals of our activities. The organization on the governmental side, it's spread between lots of organizations, but the main organizations are listed here. So the key guarantor and the leading organization under the Czech BIM strategy is the Ministry of the Industry and Trade, and under the Ministry of Transport, it's the State Fund of Transport Infrastructure. And again, our agency is the one between those two governmental main organizations that is organizing the experts. What is very important for us, it's the governmental resolution from September 2017, which approved the National BIM strategy. That strategy has the 10-year, I would say, hard plan, how to get to some interesting points. And the first milestone in that strategy was pointed to 2022-2023, which should be the mandatory for the public procurers for the tenders over 5 million euros. So we are right now 2 years before that milestone, let's say in the middle of the first 4-year period, and we are fully on work. Just a few words about our agency, because it's a quite new agency, but it was established from the older organization, and have two departments. One big one, which is dealing with the technical standard generally, and the second one, much smaller, it's a department which the head of the department, it's myself, so it's called BIM Strategy Department. The content of our work, of our government, you see down in the slide. We see us as the professional governmental platform bringing together experts, and it's very important for us to find the communication between the public administration, public sector, private companies, and of course the economic institutions. And our tasks are aiming to the standards, methodology, and education. So we are very carefully focusing not to involve in the market as in deep. So we are just trying to give some inspirations and guidance, and that's our aim, not to influence the market more than it should be. At the very beginning, because we have lots of work ahead of us, so we formalize some vision and mission, because if you do something, you have to know why you are doing and what's the goal, what's our aim. So that's our vision and our mission, and I want to underline the red line at the bottom of the slide, because I don't know how the situation is in Poland and Hungary and Slovakia, but I think it's quite similar like in Czech, and a huge issue with the collaboration and the information sharing, and especially the relationships under the building procedure. So it's a huge challenge for us, because we believe that no digitalization should be done without humans, without people, without professionals. Was mentioned at the very beginning from the speakers. So I fully agree with that, and we are really focusing on the, let's say, human side of the information management as well. The BIM strategy department create the work groups. Of course, on the floor we are creating small experts group as well, with some focusing on some special topics, like, for example, intellectual property issues and so on and so on. So there are much more groups, but this listed groups are the main one. You see, it's spread across all the areas which needs to be covered to put together some working strategy and some working procedures and processes for the information. The main question is, do we really need the mandatory? Because when I was able, that's not this year case, but in the past 2 years, when I was able to travel and speak with lots of people across Europe, lots of nations decide to go different ways. Some of them choose the bottom-to-top strategy, some of them choose the top-to-bottom. And I think it's quite fair, quite fine to do both scenarios, both strategies. It really depends on the situation on the market, the national, let's say, habits and the social relations in the market. So that's quite fine to have both strategies and fully free to decide it. In our country, we decided to go the strategy from the top to bottom, but very freely and again very carefully influencing the market with our methodologies and standards. But as well, Mr. Pasiar mentioned in that research, the missing standards is a huge issue for improving information exchange and collaboration across the whole life cycle. So without standards, we cannot move forward. So we really believe that some kind of the mandatory is the strong message to the construction market and to innovate, because the construction market, it's quite when we compare the construction sector with the other sectors, it's in every research is down the bottom of the list. So the construction market when construction sector have the huge space to improve and innovate. So we feel that mandatory for the BIM is a strong message for the whole sector. And when I look back 2 years, because we are 2 years to almost 3 years from the beginning, I must say that it works. It was a really a huge message to the market. Fixed milestone for the organization plans, it's very important as well. So the milestone and the mandatory milestone works for that very well. And the other bullets on the slide, you see as well as the concept of the digital built environment. So we have another digitization, huge project around the digital building permits. That's a huge one, which have already the milestone in July 2023. So right now it's going to discussion because the mandatory milestone was pointed to the January 2022, but we think that right now those milestones should be at the same date. So on the governmental level discussions to make those milestones at the same time at the 2023. And digital technical maps are again very important activity on the governmental level to build the sources of the digital data for the future digital built environment. What does it mean, the check mandatory? Because if you say just mandatory BIM, 10 people will imagine 10 different things. So we need to really precisely define what is called BIM when it's used. So we have the 3 pillars on which we really build the mandatory requirements for the public procurers and for the suppliers as well. So those three pillars are listed here. It's nothing new under the sun. It's generally known things, but we feel that it's very important to really precisely define those 3 things. Where is the detail of that, and where we can say it's a green light or the red line if you under the mandatory or you would not use it as a mandatory thing. To clarify the relations between those pillars, we designed this, let's say, picture to explain how it works all together, because as Mr. Pascal mentioned before, the situation is quite better, but in some cases similar on a Czech market. It's mostly focused with the architects and the 3D models and so on and so on. And our huge education activities are focused to explain all of the actors, not just the public procurers, but the supply chain. Part of the BIM is the digital procedures and digital processes around information. So that's where we are focusing, and this diagram and this picture should explain them. It's based on the ISO 19650 standards, which is great to be published, I think 1.5 years ago. That's very important for us because it anchoring the terminology for the phases for the special information models. And it's very important for educating, because one of the most difficult part of the education is the vocabulary and how the two sides understand each other and using the same terms and same methodology, and they can much easier find the same solutions. Yeah. So this is how it works. It's three circles inside of it. So that's it, and also showing one of the aims. It's aiming to the operating and maintenance phase, because it's we believe that there are the most money for safe in the future and most efficient things where the BIM can be very helpful. So we are really heavily focusing on the last stage, on the biggest stage of the entire life cycle. So that's it. The key outcomes from our strategy. One of its, which is very important for us, and we found that it's one of the very missing part of for the Czech let's say, standards. It's about the construction contract standard, because we don't have it. It's on the infrastructure. It's used HYDE standards, but generally it's not accepted by the rest of the industry. So we need to build this construction standard, because when we want to digitize some processes, we need the standard process, not the specific for each building, each special one. And of course, the construction standard must have the BIM protocol with all the appendices for the exchange information requirements for the CDE, and requirements for the BIM execution plan, and so on, so on. So that's one of the key outcomes. Of course, guidance for the public procurement, which was mentioned by your Polish authorities as well. So there are lots of restrictions and regulations which we must meet. Of course, the CDE guidance. CDE is the big topic across the ISO 19650 series, of course, but there are lots of guidance needed to take it to the real life. The next item, change management guidance, it's a huge topic for us, because it's really our experience from the past and from the other industries. There's a lot of lost projects and really not meet the expectations because the change management was not done well or was missing at all. So again, we are working with humans, we are working with people, and we need to manage that process very well, because that's the only way how we can meet the expectations and the goal we are expecting. And of course, the pilot project, the collaboration program for the public procurers we are organizing right now. We have, let's say, the storage of the projects. It's I think right now it's something around 40 projects in that list in different stages and different maturity of using BIM, of course. But it's a great place for experience and the feedbacks for the standards and methodologies which we are providing. That's around the processes, and of course we need some data standards. So there are two main outcomes from our strategy. One is a really long-term one. We call it the Czech construction data standard, which is heavily based on all the European standards. It's great for us that was published those two standards. Our people was heavily involved in developing those standards, so we know knowledge 2 years because those standards was developing for 2.5 years. So we was all the time inside the work, our experts. So we have the knowledge, we have the experience, of course, and our experience was using for those standards as well. So that's great for us to be involved in those activities under the SENA organization. So that's the one of the biggest outcomes from our strategy. And the second one is the classification system, CCR, which was established and founded this year. It's the new international organization where our agency is one of the establishing members. And that's why, from our point of view, quite promising activities, because we hope that we will find some common language with much more countries, and we found, let's say, the core of the possible future common classification system for more than just one country, because I believe that plus minus all the issues and all the topics are similar across the European soul. So and we know that Polish organization Building Smart, the Polish chapter is very active to take a part in that organization. So and Slovakia organization as well. So that's great for us, and we are quite open for other countries to be cooperating. And this system does this classification system is already published from our site, and this is our main website where we publish all the information and documents and articles and so on and so on. All pilot projects are published there as well. But I'm sorry, it's just only check because we were not able to on-fly translate into the English or the other languages, but I think you can handle that with the Google Translator. They can give you just a quick overview what is the content of those articles or documents and so on. And the classification system is published there as well. It's online. You can use it online. You can download the Excel file with the content of the classification. And the most important information is that the license for that classification system is an open license, so it can be used for free from any stakeholder or any company and organization which is useful. So if you want, you can look on that website and download it and have your opinion on it. So that's it. I hope I fit in my 15 minutes well. So thank you for your attention, and I'm open for your questions and discussions.
Thank you, Mr. Nechyba. I'm sure that
Jestem pewien,
good inspiration for us.
Dołączył do nas.
We have been joined also by a representative of Hungary, Mr. Mark Zagaras from Knowledge Center and University in Pécs. His presentation is titled Building Affairs.
Of your family name was this time correct, Mark. Wait. Okay, so
Yes.
Mr. Zagorac, over to you.
Thank you very much. Your pronunciation was just perfect. But actually, my family name is not Hungarian, but it's a Croatian. But it's a big mixture of the nations here. So thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be here and to present you our strategy and our developments. What we do on behalf of, let's say, the Hungarian states. But I say it very cautiously because we are a background institute for the Prime Ministry, so we are not decision makers. We have visions and we have developments, but we would like to show to the politics and what we would like to implement in Hungary. So I must say that in the most of the things we have very similar situation. We have very similar situation to the Polish, to the Slovak or the Czech BIM existing situations, but from our point of view, we try to make a different approach. Our institute, Lechner Knowledge Center, has a pretty wide activity, pretty wide range of activities. We are handling lots of data, and we are handling lots of services in Hungary. So we have, for example, national building database. We have surveying and cartography databases. We are dealing with remote sensing. We help citizens with urban services. We have a huge archive document center from all the buildings back to the last century. And of course, we are dealing with architecture and electronic building affairs as well. Our institute is developing online applications And here are some examples which were created during the last 5 to 10 years. I'm not going to show all of them because 50 minutes is not enough, but I would like to show that we have created in 2012 National Building Registry system. In this system, we solved the electronic submission of, for example, of the building permit plans. We solved an electric construction diary that can be registered every day online. So no more paper books or booklets on the construction site, but all contractors have to follow up their activities in an online services, in an online system. And this made the idea for us that we can transform this system into a, let's say, governmental CDE, which can handle not just the paper or PDF data, but maybe we'll be able to handle 3D data and IFC files and BIM data as well. Let me show an example. Well, this National Building Registry system has a login for the citizens and a login for the authorities, but it's the same system. It's just two different functions from the two sides. Our vision that we would like to handle all the data which we are handling already in a unified or an integrated system, and in this system we would be able to do the management, the analysis, and the visualization of the built and the natural environment altogether. Let me show one example how we are developing this and how we would like to show to the users or the citizens, or contractors or designers and architects that this system can have a good benefit for them as well. We have a system which is called e-public utilities. It's e-közmű in Hungarian language. It's an integrated electronic public utility registration system. This system was already launched in 2013, but it's under continuous development since that. We developed a network where the public utility providers give their data or provide their data to us on different channels. It can be across data center, it can be across a cloud service, or it can be directly broadcasted to us. We are not changing their data at all. We are just broadcasting it to the users who require this data. This is good because this way all the public utility providers are responsible for their own data. We do not have to make updates and upgrades continuously. They have to upgrade it by law, and we are just broadcasting always the fresh information. And the client can access this information across a client gateway, which can be, and this client gateway is accessible for all Hungarian citizens. It's for free. Of course, for this broadcasting and integration of the information, we had to create a schema for the provided data. This schema was extended to the object type definitions, to the obligatory attributes, visual marks, and it was done for each utility networks. The system has 3 main modules, but now, due to the short time, I'm going just to present the information module. Maybe this is the most spectacular one. So this is a map service that shows the following information about about the public utility providers. So you can just select an area on a map, and then you can get details of the provider contacts to the pipes or cables of each provider, and of course all the data about these pipes and cables. It's absolutely free. Let me show how it's built up. So there is a base map. You can set the scale like any map service you use, and you can switch on or off the different layers. I didn't translate it into English, please forgive me, but it in the next slides you will show. So this is the base map. You see just the borders of the lots. In the next step, you can switch on the layers of the buildings. The next, you can see the number, the actual registration number of the lot. And then you have already a two-dimensional, already a three-dimensional projected view of the buildings. And finally, you can put on the orthophoto as well to the same maps. And you can switch on, of course, the public utility networks defined by different colors. For example, the gray one is for data networks, the purple one is the distant heating, the red one is the energy, like electrical network, the blue one is the water, and so on and so on. And since the data the data providing is regulated by a law. This law is also asks the public utility providers to give not just two-dimensional information, so x and epsilon coordinates of their systems, but also to give z coordinates, and this way we will have already, let's say, 2.5 dimension data. So, of course, it's not a real 3D model, or it's not a real 3D element, but knowing the diameter, knowing the exact coordinates, we can already place these pipes and cables into 3D models. We would like to develop this existing information into augmented reality system, which can help the contractors and the constructions, and it will be very helpful to know. We know that this is not 100% accurate. We have plans that for the most interesting parts of the cities, we will try to merge this information with on-site surveying, so with X-raying the ground, and to make a more proper surveying and more proper data. How it can be integrated with the other users of our systems. For example, we have created a BIM viewer module, which is ready to accept IFC files instead of PDF files. And this module is totally online. It's an online application, web application. It's absolutely open source. We have collected all the functions from the best, let's say, the best desktop versions. We also had very good ideas from BIM Vision, for example, which is a Polish product. We prepared this module to use with other developments, for example, with the public utility system, that when an architect wants to design a a building on a lot, on an empty lot, then he or she can immediately check the actual position of the public utilities, where are they exactly around that lot, how he can solve the connection between the building and the public utility which is on the street. This model viewer has a function also to do the data analysis and the quantity takeoffs, not just the IFC data which is brought from the BIM authoring tool, but also measurements and recalculations can be done on this model. So we hope that with these tools we will be able to show to our users that BIM is something which is worthy to use, and if we can give smart solutions for them, or the possibility for smart solutions, then they will try, and they will try it, and they will try to use it more frequently. We also established a website. It's called BIM Center, where we share actual information, where we share short descriptions and best practices. And we also created or issued a BIM handbook. It's about the main concepts and let's say it's a vocabulary. And also we try to describe very detailed way the BIM uses, the possible BIM uses that the general contractors and the investors and also maybe the politicians can decide whether they would like to use BIM for some purposes or not. We have some research projects as well. We try to integrate GIS and BIM data. This is a pilot project where the building regulations are merged into a 3D file together with a two-dimensional with a three-dimensional building shapes. It was done by UAV, so drone surveying, and then we created the building shapes automatically, and we placed them onto the areas projected to a three-dimensional terrain model. This way we can make a checking of each buildings and each dots, whether the building was built properly, if it's not bigger or than the allowed size. We can check the height of the building and compare it with the building regulations, and so on and so on. It's a pilot phase, so we have to develop much more on this, but we are dealing with this as well. And I hope I didn't exceed my time limits. Thank you very much for your attention, and I'm ready for your questions.
Thank you, Mr. Zagorac. To bardzo dobrze, że
It's very good that we have a guest from Hungary. Well, it was in Hungary, actually, where the first BIM application was made, ArchiCAD. Darek, yes, I just wanted to remind you, before we move on to the last presentation in this part, that you, ladies and gentlemen, can ask questions addressing all the speakers so far, because in a moment there will be a possibility to ask the questions addressing directly individual participants to the panel. The last presentation will be by Ms. Anita Kukawska, Director of Department of Architecture and Construction at the Ministry of Development, entitled BIM in Construction in Poland. the objectives of the ministry. Well, I think you're all awaiting this presentation because we watched presentation from Visegrad Group countries, but we personally are most interested in what will be happening in Poland, and therefore I am really waiting for this presentation by Minister of Development, who are actually running the pilot project related to implementation of BIM methodology. Are we connected? Yes. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Do you hear me? Yes, yes. Thank you very much, madam. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
I would like to show you our presentation prepared in our Ministry of Economic Development, Labor and Technology. It's a new name of our ministry, but of course my part, which is Department of Architectural Building and Geodesy, is the same, in the same shape. So let me open this. Due to my colleagues and in reference to their speak, especially the Mark Zagorac, we are in the same situation of the building information modeling in Polish construction industry, which needs standardization. Digitization of is associated with every aspect of our lives, as we know, reaching every wider areas. And it's the improvement of the process in which we participate every day through the automation and easier access to data, especially now in the time of changing building formula and formula of construction site, especially in changing references, changing climate and investor...
Excuse me, because we can't see your presentation. Are you going to share some presentation?
Oh yes, sorry.
Right.
So especially now when we are realized how important it is, you know, to sharing all the information and knowledge about the building due to changing the climate and due to new information about energy, about terms and conditions, in reference of also the situation happened right now. I'm talking about pandemic. And all the digital instruments which led us to develop and to organize our constructions. The idea of digitizing the investment and construction process is currently one of the ministry priorities. And in addition to the ending project promoting elements of BIM methodology in Polish construction industry, the ministry is involved in several projects, among others in conceptual work on the creation and integrated platform for the change of data about the project and in the issues of financing and modernization of construction supervision services. Popularization of BIM methodology is part of a broader plan for the digitalization in Polish construction industry. Digitalization of construction planning Poland goes for the future. It's improving the efficiency of public procurement system in the context of using the BIM methodology. Strategy of BIM implementation in public tenders. work on the strategy will beginning in October, at the end of October this year, with the involvement of a wide range of stakeholders, including part of ministries like Ministry of Infrastructure, which was said in the presentation of Ms. Justyna, and also with the associations and designers and engineers, and also sustainability departments in our ministry. So also the most important, one of the most important future goal, it's unification of tender requirements for the use of BIM methodology. So in Poland, I would like to say some kind of information of Ministry of Development plans. So we are doing the planning of the information campaign, which Ministry will conduct, and the information campaign that will contribute to the system dissemination of result of the project among public units, state-owned companies, construction and construction supervision administration bodies, and it will also start at the end of October this year. Next part is working group at the ministry. We start in dialogue with other public institutions in order to create a working group. Ultimately, the steering committee also at the end of October, but due to the reconstruction of our ministry and the government, the decision will be made soon. Actually, as soon as possible, because it's a very important project, as you know. So we sent the invitation to the working group, and we are waiting for the application. So feel free to join our group, but it's now it's too early to say something closer about the specific actions, and so as soon as we start our working, we let you know. HYDE BIM platform, it's the next step. It's launch of the public procurement procedure, market research, finalized terms of reference, and procurement in the third quarter of 2021. Also, the very important step is legislative changes, which are more or less preparing right now. Commencement of works aimed at amending the regulation of the methodology of calculating the costs life of buildings. I mean the whole cost life of buildings, and the method of presenting information on this cost also in third quarter in 21st year. Also, we started some pilot projects for the digitalization of construction, but we also thinking about, because it was a really good idea, we often think about pilot projects, the selection of public projects to be implemented using BIM will take place in the 21st year, and projects of apartment for development, which is also very important for our ministry. This kind of program will be considered first. This pilot projects, when you can check all the abilities of investors and structure of also designers' problems and needs. We find it as a first step to creating new standardization. So right now we get wide activities in our ministry about the digitization of investment and the construction process. Right now, among the extensive I'm sorry, it's a very difficult word to me. So digitization activities, the ministry and also the main building supervision office. We are planning in the near future, after the amendment to the construction law enters into force, to introduce the possibility of arranging first 10 construction procedures electronically. So there is a special website. It's budownictwo gump.gov.pl, which is so you are able to download there and complete online construction form and send them electronically to the office. That's also that's the program we also start by as a pilot project, but it can be by observing how it develops and learning which part should be more developed. We know that this is the need of the market right now, and it's quite popular in designers and engineers. So in conjunction with the simplification of the building permit design, and also combined with the new regulations, thanks to amendment to the construction law, all the process of this formals can save up to 100 days of waiting for the building permit, which is a lot. And it will be a great help for engineers and architects and investors with preparing all the process. The next stage will be the introduction of electronic construction log. And it's a new electronic central register of professionals with building license will also be created. The authorities will verify the license in the central register with no need to submit a paper copy. After passing the certification exam, an automatic entry into the register will be made, which will accelerate the procedure of issuing the license by 2-3 months, which is also very important because right now we are really waiting too long time to do so. And also one of our current activities is to create an investor account on the construction website, where it will be possible to follow the course of the case and submit an application electronically, attaching the required documents and signing them using a trusted profile. So the investor, but also designer, can follow all the steps in the process, and so you are able, to be conscious what is going on with your project, and also what is going on with your construction site. So that's all for now. Thank you for your attention, and thank you for listening to our plan of Ministry of Economic Development, Labor and Technology. Thank you so much.
Dziękujemy, pani dyrektor.
Thank you, Madam Director. As we have some questions in the chat for our speakers, so please stay with us a little bit longer and let us try to transmit the questions to you. Marek, over to you. Yes, indeed. We have 2 questions now. The first question, Karol, the question goes to Mr. Jarosław Nechyba from the Czech Republic.
What is the reason? Musimy przełączyć na wszystkie.
I believe we need to switch to all our people.
Do you hear me well right now?
I hear you, but we just try to put a video as well.
Yeah, okay. I will show you my face as well, so we can see me. Yeah. The reasons, I don't know the quite reason, but it's not accepted. It's accepted just only on the infrastructures because of the regulation from the European Committee and European Bank in the past, and the Ministry of the Trade accepted, and it's a regulatory mandate for the investors on the highways and railways as well. But the other sector doesn't accept it, and it's quite, the reason is not, it's not rational, the reason, because it's no obligation why not using the FIDIC widely. But it's a, let's say, Czech tradition not using anything from outside. So we are really fighting with that mindset, and that's why we are trying to create, let's say, the Czech standard, which is basically heavily based on the FIDIC principles and the FIDIC standards as well. But we hope that it should be the one step further, and maybe in the future will be used just the FIDIC as the standard.
questions to Mark Zagorac. Is the handbook published in the Hungarian only?
Yes, yes. Unfortunately, it's well. Basically, we try to collect all the information from the English sources and resources. We wanted to describe to the Hungarian users what is an LOD level, what is a BIM model. So it was pretty hard to. We didn't have these words and specific expressions in Hungarian. So it was kind of vocabulary creation for us. So this is the only Hungarian written paper about BIM so far. Maybe we will translate it later back to English.
Okay. Thank you very much. We have no more questions to our speakers, so I'd like to say thank you to all of you. Mr. Jarosław Nechyba is currently in the trip, so he couldn't join us. Zapraszamy teraz na krótką.
Let me invite you now for a short break, and right after the break, we are going to have the first discussion panel. This will be moderated by Dariusz. Thank you very much.